It's time for another edition of SIRE TV, Success in Real Estate, with your host, Robert Burke. Join Robert and his guests, some of the country's leading experts on real estate investing, as they show you how you can purchase properties tens of thousands of dollars below true market value. So whether you are looking for your personal dream house, a fantastic rental property, or you want to buy, fix up, and resell for profit, this is the show for you. Robert will also share his amazing networks of lenders who are loaning on real estate all across the country. Your financial success is just around the corner. And now, the host of the Success in Real Estate program, Robert Burke.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the SIRE TV program. We're glad that you're here. I think you're going to find it very informative and very entertaining. We've got some great guests on this week. We always talk about here on the show about different ways that you can make money in real estate. The first segment, we're going to talk about kind of a unique way. We're on our website, we list property after property that you can buy. These are listed by wholesalers around the country. And our first guest is Mike Valario. He's with a company called New Western. Hey Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going, Robert?
Tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, how you got involved in real estate, and a little bit about New Western.
Sure. Originally, I got involved in real estate in South Florida, where I did similar type investment properties that I do now. And an opportunity was presented to move to Texas and work with New Western. And that was about 5.5 years ago, and I've been with them ever since.
And you're out of their Fort Worth office, right?
That's correct.
Okay,
yes.
They have offices all over the place, basically, but you kind of run their Fort Worth office.
That's right.
Okay, and now what exactly is it that New Western does? What do you guys specialize in? What are you good at?
We take all the hard work out of finding investment properties for investors. We have an acquisitions team that focuses primarily on finding the properties, negotiating contracts, and then we have a sales team that specializes on presenting these properties, these investment properties to the investor, where they have to make a simple decision, yes or no, no countering back or any of that, or multiple offer situations. We've already purchased the property. First investor there with a contract and a check, it's theirs.
And you provide them with all that information basically as what you think the property should be worth when it's fixed up, about what it's going to take to fix it up, and then what they can buy it for.
That's correct. We provide all the numbers to our best ability. We try to stay in conforming areas, similar properties for comps. Our estimate for repair isn't necessarily going to be the highest, it's not going to be the lowest, it's going to be right in the middle. But we like to think that we still sell our properties, that if you get into a little bit of a spot where maybe it's going to cost a little more to fix the house up, you can still do
There's
okay.
a little leeway. And of course, we always tell people to do your own due diligence. That's
Sure.
important.
Absolutely.
So your deal, basically, your property, it's for a person who, again, doesn't have the time, the energy, the inclination, or whatever to do that. You basically provide that service for them.
Right. It's for typically a person who has their own full-time job and maybe wants some passive income through rentals and doesn't have the time to go out and look for them, or wants to do a couple of flips for some.
Well, speaking of that, of somebody who has a full-time job, you've actually brought somebody who's also a guest on our show who has had experience with you guys. We want to welcome him to the show first, Matt Brown. Welcome to the show.
Nice to see you.
Glad that you could be here. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you first got started in real estate.
My name is Matthew Brown. I've been actually a commercial real estate appraiser for several years, and it's my first passion. But when I got into real estate, I did it for the sole reason to eventually retire with investment properties. And so as I mastered my craft in real estate from a commercial standpoint, I decided to get into residential. And that's how I met Mike.
Tell us how that happened. I mean, first off, you have this full-time job.
Yes. So,
how did you first meet them, and how has that experience worked for you?
It was word of mouth. We met actually through a sign that he had put up, and then heard some good things about he and his company, and gave him a call, and we worked from there.
So you found your first deal with them. You basically talked with them, and that's how it works, Mike. If somebody finds a property that they see, or they hear about you, whether it be word of mouth or through the internet or through a website like SIRETV.tv, if they see a property there that they like, they contact you. What happens then?
Well, typically we like to invite the investor into the office. before we send them properties. We want to get a good idea of exactly what it is they're looking for. We want to make sure that their expectations are going to match up with the type of investment property that we're providing. From there, we put our investors on a distribution list. When a new property comes out, we send out an email and we follow up immediately with a phone call just to make sure they got it, so they have a fair opportunity to actually get out and see the property.
So I would think, I notice when we put these sites on our these houses on our website, they just don't last. They go very quickly. So I would recommend that if somebody wants to do that, that they get with somebody like you very quickly, get that meeting out of the way, so that then they can start dealing with you and getting these properties. So Matthew, when you started, after you met with Mike and the guys at New Western and had that first meeting and kind of talked about what it was you were looking for, what your goals were, they start sending you then properties on a regular basis.
Yes.
Okay. So you look at those properties when they're sent to you, and you look at one that maybe is in an area that you particularly like, or a particular home. You basically know what you're looking for. Not every home they have fits your criteria of what you're looking for.
Sure, and one of the things that we do is, or that I do, is once I find an area that I'm comfortable in, I'll tend to ask Mike, can you look for more properties in that area? Because you tend to get good at certain areas, certain houses that make sense to you with your buying parameters. So.
Well, yeah, because even in a city the size of Dallas or Fort Worth or certainly LA, you've got all these different areas with different homes, and you know it's kind of good to specialize in a particular area, which is what you're saying, which you've done. Your first house that you bought with them, walk us through that.
Well, let's see. That would have been in the Wedgemont area, south of Fort Worth. It was great. It was an older home. I believe it was early 70s build. It needed everything. And we found the house through Mike. It was a seamless deal with him. Just like he said, he just says, here it is. We've already done the legwork. And that's key for me because I can't do my job that I'm passionate about and do this at the same time without people like Mike on the ground finding homes. And so for this particular house, it ended up being a good deal right off the bat, which doesn't always happen. So,
Mike, one of the questions that I get from people all the time is, you guys are experts at finding these deals. Why don't you go ahead and do the next step? Why do you do it the way you do it?
Well, I guess we're in the business of volume. We get so many of these deals because we have such a large team of acquisition associates that we can buy them at a point where it still makes sense, where we can make a little bit on each transaction, leave a majority of the profit for the investor, and keep moving on to the next one.
You know, sometimes people get hung up on, they feel like they got to be involved in the process from start to finish, because if they're not, they leave something on the table. I know that when I first started, that's the way I was. Matter of fact, it got to the point I was so bad about it that I even formed my own mortgage company, because I got tired of dealing with mortgage companies, and having to wait around for those guys. That worked for me, to be honest with you, but it doesn't always work for everybody. I think it's great that there are companies like New Western and these other companies that list their sites on our websites that are wholesalers. That's what they do, because it's really what you guys are good at. It's where your expertise is, it's what you guys enjoy. And you just said that too, Matthew, about, your passion is your job, what you do now. And if your passion is rehabbing the properties, then that's what you're going to be good at. If your passion is finding properties, that's what you're going to be good at.
That's absolutely right. I do this for my retirement. I got started late in life in my career, and so my 401k is probably not as good as others. So I realized that I needed to step it up and do real estate, purchase, not just the purchase, but also the whole deal, in order to eventually have a retirement that I can retire on.
And you've done well in real estate. It's been successful for you, but I think you'd probably say that if it weren't for a company like New Western providing you these properties, you wouldn't be where you are today with it.
Not at all. I wouldn't have the time to do both, hands down.
And again, it goes back to having an array of opportunities out there. We talk about this week after week about they're just different avenues to succeed in real estate, and you've got to be passionate in what you're doing, or you're not going to do it well. You're not going to succeed. For somebody out there who's looking to do what you've done, what would be kind of your one word of advice to them?
You make your money on the buy. So do your own due diligence.
Exactly.
Because Mike's going to do his best to put out products, but it's up to you because you know your buying parameters. What's good for you is not good for the next investor.
Yeah.
So know what they are and stick to that until something else presents itself.
That's great advice, and it's a great way to end this segment. And again, Mike and Matthew, I appreciate you guys being on the show, and we look forward to having you back, maybe telling some more success stories. Okay?
Thank you.
Great to have you guys.
Thank you. Hey,
Thanks, Mike. Hey, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
The SIRE TV program, brought to you in part by Appraisal Save, your half-price nationwide home appraisal service. Sherman Bridge, America's #1 rehab lender.
Welcome back, everybody. We had a great first segment. We're going to have an even better second segment. Got a good friend of mine on the show, Kurt Carlton from Sherman Bridge. Again, Kurt, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Great to have you here. I know we've had you on several times. We've talked about a lot of things when it comes to hard money. What I really want to talk about this segment of this show, though, is you guys are out there. You're doing a lot of loans. You know, I know you said at one time you about $100 million worth of loans. I know that's not your own money. I mean, if it is, great, but I'm assuming that it's not. And we talk about all different ways on this show of how to make money in real estate. So tell us a little bit about that process of your company and how maybe somebody could benefit from being involved with you in that regard.
So the other side of the coin, besides lending money, is obviously you can make money in real estate without having to swing a hammer or fix a broken toilet.
Okay.
That's what a lot of people do. Not just with me, but what a lot of people do is called private money lending. So you've got a guy that's got not a lot of money, but he's got a lot of time. You pair him up with a private money lender, somebody that has a lot of money, but they don't want to go out and get their hands dirty and all that stuff.
Right.
And they'll lend the money out, and they'll usually get above market return. You know, they can get anywhere between 8 to 12% return lending their money out. So what we did when we got started, of course, you know, when we didn't have a track record a million years ago, and we went out there and we wanted to raise money, it was almost impossible. But we got it from individuals that believed in us, and they gave us their money, and we lent it out to real estate investors, and we gave them a return. And we were just kind of in the middle. That way they didn't have to leave their house or go market for loans or anything like that. And there's lots of other companies out there that people can invest with to do that type of thing.
So the question that I get all the time is, you guys are out there loaning all this money out, and you just kind of explained this, but go in a little bit greater detail. You know, it's not your money, but so you basically work with other people who are interested in investing in you and your company, and you turn around and invest this money into real estate.
That's exactly what we do. The way we set it up, now we work with private individuals that just are typically higher net worth individuals, family offices, things like that. But we also work with banks, so it's a combination of the two. It's a private deal, so I can't go out and advertise and do things like that, and I can't offer it obviously on the show at all. But we're just talking about it in general.
Right.
They come in, they're people we know. They decide they want to get their money in use, and we put it into loans for them. And then the loans that we put it into, it's a really good position for them because it's secured by real estate. So for every $60,000, $70,000 we're lending out there, it's secured by $100,000 worth of highly marketable single-family real estate. And people like that security, especially nowadays. When you invest in the stock market, I mean, do you know what's going on?
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Well, when you were talking about, you get money from banks, have warehouse lines with banks. The question that comes to my mind is, I have this question, and I hear our listeners having this question too. We talk about all the time about how hard it is. Banks don't do these type of loans. No. They just don't. So a guy is saying, well, if you're going to a bank and doing it, why can't I go to a bank and do it? Tell us the difference. Why can't I walk into a bank and do it and you can?
If you're going to invest money with a company like this, now I'll answer your question, but I got to do it the long way. The one thing that's important is the track record. Okay, So the people that invested with us way in the beginning when we didn't have a track record, they were personal people that we knew very well and they believed in us. And, you know, it could have turned into a terrible investment for them if we had lost all the money. Now that we have years and years and years of a track record, our default rate right now is 0.05%. I mean, it's almost nil, the risk factor in it for the investor, at least it has been in the past. And we've paid a 8 to 12% compounded interest rate over years and years and years. So when the bank looks at us, now they're ready to do business with us. They see the process, they can collateralize the properties, and we don't do a lot of business with banks. Most of it is with private people that just want to put their money with us. But that's the difference. That's why, you know, the guy that just wants to jump into this, he doesn't stand a chance of walking into a bank and them saying, oh yeah, sure, lend our money out. You know, and it's going to be a hard time to raise money, but that's what we had to go through in the beginning.
Well, now, I said on the segment before this, when we had the guys on from New Western and Matt talking about his experience, that I'm the type of person that I like to know the process from A to Z. I mean, to the point, to the extreme that when I was investing in real estate, I actually started my own mortgage company because I got tired of all the excuses and waiting for these mortgage companies to get deals done, and I thought I could get it done faster, and I didn't get paid till the deal closes. So I'm sure there are people out there who are like me who may be interested in getting into hard money lending themselves. Mm-hmm. What would be kind of your advice to those guys, and why would it be better to work with somebody like a Sherman Bridge who has been doing it for a long time?
Well, I'd like to be lender and company agnostic. There's lots of other companies besides Sherman Bridge, and we can only invest, or we can only accept money from people that we know and all that, just for disclosure. But if they wanted to get in the business on their own, that can be difficult. You know, I would start very, very small. There's a lot of ways to really screw this one up when you're lending money. I mean, there's a lot of laws, there's a lot of regulations, there's a lot of things you have to kind of navigate between. We're actually a licensed mortgage bank, so we're used to being heavily regulated and all that, and we navigate really well through those waters. But if I was going to look at a company, I would look most closely at their track record. Even if it meant, you know, there's lots of guys out there that will pay a higher return, but you really got to dig into their track record. And the nice thing about real estate is it's 100% transparent. You can see how many foreclosures that they take back if you just know a little bit about real estate. You can look on the county courthouse records and things like that, usually online in just about every county now. You can see if they take a trustee's deed, that's a foreclosure. So if you know the holding company that they're lending their money out of, you can look that up on the county clerk and see how many foreclosures they're getting. You know, typically I would go with a company that doesn't service the loans themselves. And the reason I would say that is what we decided to do early on, because our investors liked it, is we used a third-party servicing company. That way they knew we couldn't hide or cover up the numbers. It was a licensed third-party servicing company that was showing what our default rate was, how many lates our borrowers had, and things like that. And they could rely on that information because it wasn't coming from us; it was coming from a third party.
Well, and you made this point, and I want to clarify it to our listeners, to our audience out there, is that I say this all the time, that there are lots of different ways that you can make money in real estate. You can be the hammer and nail guy, you know. You can be the rehab company like a New Western that we had on here earlier and specialize in finding these deals. You can invest in companies who are turning around and investing in real estate. And I'm not selling anything. That's not what we do here. But when you talk about hard money lenders and what you guys do, why is that? Why is it secured? Why is it a good investment? Why would it be something that somebody would feel secure about being involved in?
Well, most people have their money in one of three things, asset classes right now, rather. You know, they either have it in stocks, bonds, or commodities. Those are the big three, right? This is a way to actually get the security of real estate. So if I lend you $70,000 and it's a $110,000 property that's collateralizing that, and you don't pay me back, I can take that property. I've got something made out of brick and wood and all that's there. It's not going anywhere. You can't take it somewhere and hide it, right?
Exactly.
It's right there. And that's my collateral. People like that. They don't like things that they don't understand. I think a lot of people have distrust for conventional investments in Wall Street. I mean, I don't know what's going on when I bought inside of a company. If a company goes bankrupt, what's the result on your stock?
It's gone.
Well, if you invest in a note and the guy forecloses, you have to foreclose on the guy. It's not gone. You've got a property.
Right.
You know, and most of these companies do the mitigation too, so it can be pretty passive. So I know what we do. We'll mitigate any kind of losses. I mean, we don't have very many of them. We usually take about one foreclosure a year back, but and we haven't had any losses to date.
Knock on the wood.
So,
that's good.
But one day we will. We'll have something and we'll deal with it at a time. We've just got some strong downside
Well,
controls.
again, you know, we just like to talk about the different aspects out there of investing in real estate. We're not a one-trick pony here, and we have, you know, we've had you on the show several times talking about the mechanics of hard money lending to get pre-approved for a loan, and we'll talk about that again. But I want to spend a little time on what we talked about today, and I found it interesting, very entertaining, very informative. And if you want to hear more about this and talk to Kurt, go to our website, SIRETV.tv. And there's a link there, and you can talk with them and learn more about their hard money lending programs. Again, Kurt, we got to run, but you were a great guest as always. Great
Thanks
to have
for
you on
having
the
me.
show, man.
Definitely.
Hey, everybody, we'll be right back. Don't go anywhere.
The SIRE TV program, brought to you in part by New Western, America's #1 source for investment properties. The Real Alliance, leading individuals to success through real estate investing.
Welcome back, everybody. I want to thank our guest, Mike Valario from New Western, and the client that he brought in, Matt Brown. I think it goes to show you that, like Matt's story, he's been doing this for a while, but he still has his full-time job that he has a passion for, that he doesn't want to give up, and that there are ways that you can make money in real estate. You don't necessarily have to do this full-time. I love the fact that this show is about that there are all different kinds of options in making money in real estate, from being aggressive to being passive, and we've talked about that on this show, and we'll be talking about it many more shows to come. But again, be sure to go to the website, SIRETV.tv, and you'll see all these properties that we have listed from around the country. So no matter where you are, go there and see if there's a property that might fit your need. We work with these guys, these rehabbers, these professional wholesalers, as I call them really. And they basically, their job is finding properties. It's what they do. It's what it's where their passion is. We were talking to Mike Valario about that. You know, why doesn't he's great at finding these properties. Why doesn't he finish that process out? They don't enjoy doing that side of it. They're not the hammer and nail type of guys. And so we have a lot of those wholesalers who we allow to list on list their properties on our website. And it basically takes out a step for people who don't have the time, don't have the inclination, or like Matthew Brown, they have a full-time job. They don't want to do that. And maybe somebody is just lazy, or lazier than maybe somebody else is the way to put that. So we've made that option available to you on the site, and we'll have properties there. Now again, I'll tell you a couple of things. One is these properties will not last. If I talk about a property on the show that's available, by the time it airs, it's long gone. We do a radio program that's very similar to this. Same thing, we talk about properties, they may be gone the next day, but that's really a good thing. That shows you that they're great deals. But what it tells you is that you need to meet with these people. You need to, get to know them, get on their mailing list, so that you get first crack at these properties. We've had people on our show who've talked about that before, and these properties just don't last longer than a day or two. Last week we had a guy on our show. He talked about how he was, worried about getting to the bank and getting his deposit back in time so he didn't lose the deal. So it's just something to watch out for and be careful about. But I will tell you this, in future editions of our show, we will be talking to people who do want to learn this from A to Z. That's kind of the way I am, the way that I was. I wanted to learn everything about this business. Now I've kind of learned as I've gotten older that may not be the best way to do it. And there are some things that we're better at. There are some things that we have more of a passion for, and when you have a passion for something, you're going to be better at it. You just are. And so, again, we'll be talking about all different ways that you can invest in real estate on this program. We talked with Kurt Carlton, who is from Sherman Bridge, who's one of our hard money lenders, who's on our show on a regular basis. We've talked about in the past about hard money lending, and that these guys understand the real estate investor, and you're not going to get that understanding when you go to a bank or a financial institution. They're not going to do these type of deals. So instead of saying, well, I just can't do it because I don't have any money myself, and a bank's not going to loan me money even if I have perfect credit, we've got the hard money lenders that will work with you. There are no excuses. I get tired of that, and you've probably noticed that in this show when I talk about people who all they want to do is make excuses for why they can't do this business. The market's changed. It's not as good as it used to be. The market's going to continue to change. When one gets a little worse, something else gets a little better. You know, we've got the financing now for our listeners, for our viewers. On our website, we've got hard money lenders around the country that have money, like Kurt's company. They have people that like their programs and want to invest in their company to get a passive yield. That's something anybody can do if they choose to do. Look into it, do your due diligence. But they've got plenty of money. They're looking for people to loan money to. And I promise you, the hard money lenders that we deal with, money is not in short supply for these guys. So that's not an excuse. I can't find properties, I'm not good at it. We've got them on our website. You know, I don't have anybody to teach me, to mentor me. We have the Real Alliance and Matthew Elder and his group to do that. We've basically got the excuses covered, guys. If you want to have more excuses, you got to go find another show, because you're not going to find them here. Okay? Be sure to go to our website, SIRE TV.tv. It is our goal to have an entertaining show, okay, to keep your interest, but we want to be informative. We want you guys to be able to succeed in real estate. By going to the website, you're going to see all the different sponsors that we have. We have people who are involved with us who provide services to the rehabber at reduced prices, at reduced fees. That helps you. They understand you. We have insurance companies that know the investor and know, you know, what they're insuring, and they're not going to give you grief about that. They know what it is. All of those things. The website is a tool for you, and use it, unless you want to just have more excuses. And I don't think if you're listening to this show that you're that type of person. Okay. So again, I want to thank Mike Valerio from New Western. I want to thank his guest, Matthew Brown, who was here. I think they did fantastic their first time. And I want to thank Kurt Carlton, and I want to thank you for being here. And look forward to having you next week. Until then, God bless, continued success.
Thank you for watching the SIRE TV program. For more information regarding the contents of this show, please visit our website at siretv.tv.